I think right now I'm in not an awkward spot, but in a place where I'm still trying to find a niche that the audience are latching onto. And that's a difficult prospect because you don't know whether something is going to resonate well for the most part until after you've done it. And sometimes that backfires. I know my strengths, at least in my mind, come with the reliability. Like I'm very willing to, whether it's, do a segment on the telestrator big screen, or whether it's casting, or whether it's analyst desk. Like, I know that I am confident in those positions, and I'm happy to go out and take any segment like that, even whether it's on the fly, somebody needs somebody to step in for a game. And that's something that internally I kind of pride myself on. I think everybody on this team would step up and can step up if needed. And I trust absolutely everybody we work with. But certainly that's something I take as pride in myself, that is difficult to have anybody appreciate, because that's my job, right? People at the end of the day are going to say, oh, you casted a game, great. That's your job. That's everything that you're meant to do. But actually having something that resonates well with the audience is something that I have struggled with over the last year. And I'm not quite there. A lot of people still think that I'm on the weaker side of the color caster role, and I think they're right. It's you look at a Deficio, you look at a Crepo, and Vedius has grown so much over the last split. You look at that and you're like, okay, it's always going to be a mountain. They're always very well respected, and I'm still trying to work and get anywhere near to the level of respect that the audience has, that they already garner. So for me, it's an ongoing process of like, okay, am I working hard enough to catch up to them? Can I work any harder? I've got to keep going. Everything is about kind of moving forward. And sadly, I feel like right now I'm a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none. And I think that has its benefits, but doesn't necessarily make me stand out particularly well.
As Deficio talked about, he was saying Jet kind of mentored him, and now he has, the newer casters coming in, and it's all about, bringing them up to speed. And the fact is that it takes time.
Yeah.
It's not something that you just jump into and then you know everything. In fact, you need to start off as a jack of all trades and then be able to specialize. And there's that whole that works well and that resonates with the audience. It's hard.
Yeah, it is really hard. And Deficio and Crepo and honestly all of the casting crew and the broadcast talent crew, they've been instrumental in like helping us grow as people. Like, there's very rarely have I ever found, can't think of some moment where nobody's ever said, no, I'm not going to help you on that. So certainly, despite being in the position of being hungry and trying to chase and catch up to the top guys, at no point are they like, oh no, I'm happy with this spot, you can stay down the bottom. They're always happy to help, and that's kind of endearing and very humbling at the same time, because it's just like, I want to be better than you. You're trying to help me be better than you. What's wrong with you at that point? But certainly they're good friends, so there's absolutely no malice in that. Ooh, segues is something that, that's one thing actually thinking about strengths. That's one thing I think I'm kind of good at. I'll be honest, I've tried not to be like, I'm the best at this, because I don't believe that you can truly be the best at anything this early on. It takes a lot of time. But segues is something that I enjoy, being a little quirky and quick to turn around. Honestly, it's more of a spur of the moment thing. If I'm like, okay, I've got this word, this is invoking a feeling or a reference or something like that, and we need to turn it this way. That's something that is difficult to break down how I do it, but it's something that I think, and I'm like, I actually like that segue. Everything seemed to work. It's something that our production staff and writers are like, oh, thanks for keeping it on track with that kind of thing sometimes, because we got a lot of big talkers on the show, whether it's players. A lot of our players love to talk. So sometimes you have to drag things for different segments, for whether it's a graphic or a video or even to get into games. So I feel like I'm naturally kind of good at that. Took me a while to do that with a teleprompter, though. That took a long, long time to be listening to the conversation, see the next point and be, okay, we've got to go with that. That's where we've got to get to. Ooh, the best feedback I've got on Reddit, somebody went down and they posted like a big paragraph about a point that I'd made about an item build once. This was about a year ago, I think. And it was a bit of a moment where it was constructive feedback from a source that's outside of the walls of Riot broadcast team. And it was one of the first times that somebody had actually taken the time and typed out what exactly they felt I had done wrong, and I went back and rewatched it and re-listened, and sure enough, like the way I remembered saying something wasn't quite how it came out on stream, and we went back and forth a couple of times about how something wasn't necessarily bad, and that's something that the casting team just in general has always been a stickler for, is try not to say something's bad unless you absolutely 100% know beyond a shadow of a doubt it's awful, right? And this guy was like, hey, I think you misrepresented because here's some reasons. And it was really enlightening because it made me kind of change my perception on, once again, how to present things and catch myself in the moment. Sometimes I'll catch myself like I did it yesterday when we were talking about Wonder playing Kennen in the Splice series versus Unicorns in week 10. And I pulled Pyrotechnics aside after the cast on game 2, and I was saying, I really think we need to kind of adjust how we're talking about this, because I think people might be perceiving we're taking a dump on Wonder for his Kennen, when actually it's that Unicorns are playing really well around it. And then you reset yourself, go into game 3, and gives you a little bit more of a window to kind of go with what you're trying to say, instead of what you're kind of just letting loose on the world that people hear in a completely different way. Ooh, that's a good question. A lot of people might not know that I joined as an observer. I think what makes a good game observer is something that I believe the EULCS found a long time ago. And that is what we would call primary observer. His name's Unso. He's fantastic observer, and I mean no disrespect to anybody else that's ever observed League of Legends, but of the people that I've worked with, Unso just has a natural affinity of knowing what is going on. He'll watch like 3 or 4 screens at the same time of different points of view and be able to follow it all. Like if you have this guy doing the main camera, he'll be able to catch it all. And honestly, it's that in the moment ability to perceive so much. Because not only is it the screens, you have your main screen, and then the way we had it set up is he would have a directed camera above him, you'd have a second observer to the side, and a couple of other monitors that are pointed at different places, but it's communication within the team as well. Knowing that if you've got 2 other observers telling you what's coming next, you can process and output the right call. And with expanding to 2 streams and now an extra show day, we had to expand our observers quite quickly, up to, like, I think it was either 6 or 8, something like that. And I don't think necessarily they've been given the full tools to succeed in the same way that Unso has. He's been doing it for years now. But he's also such a key part of the team that he has other responsibilities too. And I think it's possible for the rest of our observers absolutely to get there, but Unso is like a wizard when it comes to observing. The guy is really good. So I think there's some sentiment that I want to touch on briefly that I see a lot, and it's comments to do with, man, I really wish they keep it to Deficio, Crepo, Quickshot, Shocks, and let's get Demon back, and that's the show we want. And I completely understand that. I understand the thought process that goes into that when people want to see their favorites that they've seen for a very long time, and I absolutely get that. And for a long time, that sentiment did bother me, because it was just like, hey, I'd really like you to tell me why don't you want to see me? And a lot of people didn't go so far. And thankfully, recently, a lot of people have been giving criticism that's constructive and gives me actionable feedback that I can work on and actually improve. And so I recognize some people just aren't going to like me as a caster. I mean, some people aren't going to like any caster. You could pick a name and they have people that don't like him. I think the thing that I always try and keep in mind is, like, I'm not done catching up to any of the casters yet. Like, I'm not not at a point where I can rest and say, hey, I'm the best I'm ever going to be. So for me, I want to get to a point where I've garnered the same respect as a Deficio, that everybody is now like, this guy worked so hard. He's got there and we love him. We want him on every cast. And like, one day I want to be able to look back and say, hey, I got to that point. I'm still going. I'm still trying to, be the best caster that I can be. But it's difficult. I'm thankful that a lot of people around me have helped me out in that way. But honestly, it's all about that actionable feedback of like, if you don't want to listen to me on a cast, that's great. Like, that's actually fine by me. Just let me know why is the cool thing, because then maybe I can work on it. And maybe one day you will want to turn that cast back on. It's difficult. I know it can be a big sticking point for people, and it's certainly not something that goes unnoticed by a lot of people, but I'm not done working on it. I'm not done working on being the best that I can be.
For more league interviews and analysis, subscribe to our channel. You can also find stats, discussions, and more on our website and mobile app at blitzesports.com.